Uh, Around 10 years back, I started my career as an animator, and for good or worse, that time the Great Recession of the 2008 had begun, and I was trying to rigorously apply for jobs all over the world. I was trying to get into the next Disney or Pixar or Double Negative, all those big studios. And I was pondering myself that if life is going to be this hard when I'm beginning, how is it going to be 10 years later? And that time, I saw a little YouTube video online that changed my life. It was by an animator called Ralph Bakshi. He's very old now, but he gave a very simple advice in very brutal terms that decided my career as an animator for the years to come. I will get into that advice, but first let me just quickly go through the basics of why I decided to choose animation. And if I go back, I realize it is a very simple process. It's a very simple subdivision of art. Art is nothing. Personally, for me, it is something that stems from your heart, probably through life experiences, comes out through a medium. It could be any subdivision like painting, drawing, architecture. And then when exposed to an audience like you, it generates an emotional response. And in that process, most importantly, in that process, it purges your inner self. For me, art is frustration, simply in simple terms, because it purges my inner self completely, and then I'm back to the normal life. If I do not create something which I really want to create, not something which has very economical or commercial value, but something which has come from my heart, if I don't create that, I will die. So for me, that is my personal definition of art, and which decided my career. And then, as I said, it can have several subdivisions. Now, we have some basic subdivisions like architecture, dancing, painting, which are the pillars of it. And then when we mix them, we get mediums like video games, animation. So for me, animation was an amalgamation of all arts combined. It had acting, it had theatricality to it, it had photography, it had good actors to get involved in the process. It had to have good music, good sound design. So I thought this is the best medium for me. I should be doing animation. So let's go into those subdivisions. So this is a painting created by me. So it is a story I'm trying to tell as a painter. And in that process, I'm exposing it to you, trying to get some kind of response from you, and I'm getting myself purged. And that's all that is there. So this is painting. It could be some written words. Let's say something as simple as few written words. One of the shortest story by Ernest Hemingway. For sale, baby shoes never worn. Very simple few words, but it generate quite an emotional response when heard. Now, when we talk about cinema, cinema is nothing but a sequence of photographic images. You have a lot of realistic photographic images, you put them in a sequence, you accompany them with very good sound, and you get cinema. And the most important aspect in this is writing, because it is a very literary medium, which a lot of people do not realize. People just think it's just gorgeous visuals and I'm on a ride. Cinema comes from literature. So that was my idea of art when I got into animation, because animation is literally cinema. It is just a sequence of images and nothing more. Now, people tend to think that animation is a completely different medium, but it's just paintings, handmade images created by artists like you and me, which put in a sequence, accompanied by sound, you get cinema. Something like this. I just create a few drawings and then put them in a sequence, and you have animation. So what is the problem? Everything is well and good. I should be finding the right career for me. The problem is, whenever you try to go mainstream, you have to commoditize art. If there is no economic value in something, that is shelved away. And that was the exact problem that I faced. So when I talk about animation, what do you think? What's the first thing that comes in your mind? Probably this, right? Something like toys come to life, well and good. What about this? A preschool pig who participates in activities. I mean, there is completely nothing wrong with that, but that is a very, very small section of what the potential of animation could be. And it just crushed me as an artist when I thought I was going to apply to this kind of studio. Or something like this, which you all know. And a 9-year-old boy, brave, doing happy-go-lucky activities. And I was devastated when I realized this is the kind of imagination I had about art. And when you commoditize well enough, you can really, there is no limit to it. So I thought maybe this is how it is going to be, since I cannot put any economic value in my art. But then I stumbled upon better things. What if I told you we can have good adult-oriented mainstream animation which talks about real issues of the world or which reflects the kind of issues we have in right now? It's a very simple film that came out in 1972, Fritz the Cat. So it's a simple satire focusing on American college life of the era, race relations, the free love movement, and left-wing politics. I'm sure you wouldn't have imagined something like that in animation. It's a gold standard of explicit, razor-sharp political commentary. And I thought, probably I have to find something like this. And then I realized there are better films also, like Tokyo Godfathers. An alcoholic, a drag queen, and a dependent girl discover an abandoned baby in the trash on the Christmas Eve. And I was blown away. I realized, this film has not made much money, but probably it is in the line of the films that I'm trying to make. And very recently, a film that came out, it is simply about a severed hand that escapes from a dissection lab, determined to find its body. The kind of stories that were speaking to me were existing, they were just not there for me to get exposed to because they were not mainstream. Or something like this, a bored office worker may have accidentally sparked a revolution. That's the kind of story we can create in animation because anything is possible. So this is a feature film that I am working on right now, and I am very, very proud of it that somebody from his bedroom can create an animation and get the talents from all over the world. It is very interesting, and I will talk a lot about it in a little bit. So what I'm really talking about is art house animation in simple terms, something that has no commercial value, but it really gets the full potential of that medium can do. But when you go through that, you realize there are a lot of hurdles. Like when I go to people, when I go to producers, they say, maybe you should go to Europe. You know, they have tax incentives. Japan has the manga culture. US is the land of Disney. Or China is pushing the government is pushing the art very much. You should go there. Or Latin America has a lot of good studios. You should try to make a film there. And when I come to India, I get bamboozled by these kind of questions that, oh, your film has such a bigger budget. How much time does it require? 4 years. I can make the film in 6 months and get 100 crores back. That's the kind of mentality that we have, because in live action, it is very, very easy to shoot a film, post-produce it in 6 months, and get good revenue out of it. And it has very long gestation period, and animation requires 4 or 5 years to get finished because it's handmade, right? And the worst thing that we have in our country is it is a service-based industry, period. There is nothing more that is happening here. Whatever you guys want to do right now, it will end up in a big cubicle, and that will be your life for the rest of your, career, because we cater to other people. We cater to the innovations done by others. We do not tend to create much because that is how we have been wired during our college and schooling. And it is extremely important to realize, why did you get into this profession or this art form in the first place? And if you're not realizing that, you will keep catering to other people's innovations, which we are doing right now. And other than that, we live in an extremely diverse country. There are people who have good taste, there are people who have bad taste, there are people who have no money at all to watch the film, there are people who just want to have a good time in the theater. So how do you pitch them this kind of art house animation? So these are the hurdles I was facing, and they were brutal to me. So I realized I have a quest. I want to create an Indian art house animation that stays true to its heart no matter what, and I will not compromise. For me, compromise is devil. I will not do that. And it will reach its audience, and most importantly, it should not kill the creator in the process, because it will, mind you, it is very, very, very hard, because you have to have some money in your bank to survive and then make these art house things, because they have absolutely no economic value. So I was on this quest around 4 years back. And this was my bedroom. I was creating this little short film. And I thought I will just leave my job. I will just focus on this film for one last time. I will try if I can really have a career in art, or I will go back to that creating that Chhota Bheem and Disney shit. So I created this film, and somehow it exploded. It did really well. I didn't expect that because I was thinking since it is not mainstream, it will not really go anywhere. But I realized I have to look beyond India for this, at least for now, because not enough people are making this thing. So that film exploded. I got a lot of attention, and now I'm working on a feature-length film of the same name. It's going very, very well because now I am also getting aligned by the like-minded people. I'm not getting aligned by the people who say, "Acha, kitna bana legi?" It's not like that. It is very straightforward. It is just not about recouping your money. It is about creating, it is about killing that barrier that we have around in animation, mainstream animation, and showing the people this is possible. It goes into very psychedelic territories. So it has all the elements of a epitome of a perfect and imperfect society. Okay, so I have very, 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 very simple advice for you. You just have to make it yourself, at least for now. Okay, because first, there is no market for it. Nobody is going to support you. You will never have enough money. Even if you try to ask your father or your parents, they will see some value in it, but it is not fair to ask money from people, to be very honest. You have to be your own person. So if you do that yourself once, and if you keep trying, maybe there will be a chance that you have a chance at a career in art. And meanwhile, the only way to do it is not to do this. Because if you try to mix this and that, art and commercial value, paying bills, paying the EMIs, and you want to mix art with it, both will suffer eventually, and you will be in a very dire state. So never do that. I cannot stress it enough. Just don't. Wow. Okay, so all that is well and good. Maybe you can write a script, maybe you can write a good screenplay, maybe you are a very literary person, and maybe you can direct your actors very well. But then it all comes down to, is it even possible? The last time I heard, Toy Story 4 was made in $250 million, and you are asking me to make a film on your own? Is it even possible? I've heard Toy Story required around 1,000 computers to render a single frame. It's true. It's true. It was. And I've also heard that it was made in 4 years by a team of 560 people who are professionals. To be very honest, it would have been true 10 to 15 years back. But right now, if you give me that excuse, I have no respect for you. Because right now, every single thing that you can imagine is free. Okay? All these tools that I'm telling you right now, they're all free. And if you can write, you can create an animation if you are focused enough. So the technical achievements in hardware, the software are revolutionizing the indie animation scene like anything, like nobody has ever seen before. So when I was pitching my film to people all over the world, they first laughed at me that, your film is what? In this much money, can you even make it? Can you pull it off? Then I showed them, I mean, this is a real incident. I showed it to a very, very big producer from US, and he saw a 1-minute pitch of my film. And I told him my budget. And he said, in that budget, Pixar will make only 1 minute of the film in which you are making the whole film. And I said, I'm making it myself. And he didn't believe it. So the point is, this is a time in which anything can happen. And if your excuse is, it's done by so many people and it requires so much money, it's not worth it to put such excuses. Just get on to making art. So I have a very simple recipe, right? First is master storytelling. That requires not a TED talk, that requires years and years of reading and nothing else. I mean, throw away your mobile phones. It's not required anymore if you want to master storytelling. It's very important these days because I come from that era when there were no mobile phones. You have to understand, if you want to master any art, it requires at least 10 years. So 10 years of reading is good enough. You can try to make your story then, and then you can DIY your craft, which I'm doing. Do things on your own. Try to find a way, try to be very creative, how a film can be made. Find your own troubleshooting ways and just do it. And a lot of people right now in Bangalore, Mumbai, Hyderabad, in chunks, are trying to create startups which will then focus on making such films. Don't do that. It's suicide. Just don't do that. You want to create art. You don't want to create a business. You're not a business person. I mean, I'm only talking to people who are into serious art. If you tend to do that, and if you're from right brain and you're mixing left brain into it, you will eventually kill yourself. Find a better person who can probably give enough money or probably support your passion project, and just make that passion project. Don't create companies out of it. It's not necessary. And absolutely, you have to pay bills, freelance like anything. Right now, a lot of directors I know, they are freelancing. They're doing simple gigs so that they can put that money into the thing that they want to create, and it's working out very, very well. And lastly, be very careful of what you consume, because that is essentially killing the people in animation right now. They keep watching that same thing that keeps coming out in the commercial cinema, and then they think this is animation, and I have no word for it. I mean, you have to consume good stuff, otherwise it will fall as an art. So to end all this, I will just show you what was that advice that I saw in that YouTube video by Ralph Bakshi, which changed my life 10 years back. Thank you.